in herself since the night the intruder tried to snatch her soul literally. Sleep had become a cruel joke, her nights dominated by relentless nightmares replaying the haunting moments. Her appetite had gone AWOL, and no matter how much Toxic and Wizzy tried to coax her into eating, she barely managed a sip of water. After days of watching Iris look like death warmed over, Wizzy snapped. "For fuck's sake, Iris, we're taking you out. Fresh air. Sunshine. Maybe even some fries if you don't fight us." "Fine," she groaned, though the bags under her eyes said otherwise. The three of them ended up at the mall, but it didn't take long for things to spiral. Everywhere Iris looked, she saw him. The dead-eyed grin of the intruder haunted the faces of every shopper. Some poor dude in a hoodie sneezed, and she yelped loud enough to make Toxic drop his drink. "What the actual hell, Iris?" Toxic grumbled, wiping soda off his corned t-shirt. She didn't respond, her face pale as she staggered into a boutique. She ducked into a changing room, hoping the isolation might calm her racing mind. Instead, the floor spun beneath her, and darkness swallowed her whole. When she came to, Iris was kneeling on cold, inky ground. Heavy iron chains bound her wrists, the weight pulling her down. The black void stretched endlessly in all directions, silent except for the distant sound of mocking laughter. A figure emerged from the shadows, a gaunt, twisted version of Mike, the same poor bastard she found skinned alive in that cursed apartment. Well, look who decided to nap on the job," Mike sneered, his voice dripping with venom. "You really are pathetic, you know that? Accepting that clerk's little errand? Fucking amateur hour." Iris glared up at him, her rage clashing with her lingering fear. "What do you want, Mike? Why all this shit?" Mike grinned, his teeth yellow and jagged. "Oh, nothing much. Just wanted to remind you how stupid you are. Honestly, I should thank you. That little errand? It was the gateway to all this chaos. You practically gift-wrapped it for me, Angel." Iris's heart sank, shame clawing at her insides. But as Mike's laughter grew louder, a spark of defiance ignited. Her fingers curled into fists, and she whispered, "Fuck this." The chains rattled as Iris rose to her feet, her knees trembling but her resolve hardening. She could feel something dark and primal stirring within her. The iron shackles glowed red-hot before shattering into pieces. She doubled in size, her form twisting into something monstrous. Deer antlers erupted from her skull, curling with an eerie grace. Her eyes turned jet black with crimson irises, and a manic grin split her face. Her wings spread wide, black feathers shimmering with a faint, unholy glow. Mike's smug expression faltered. "What the fuck? You wanted a monster, Mike?" Her voice was guttural, reverberating through the void. "Here's your goddamn monster." The ground beneath her cracked open, black ooze bubbling up as dozens of tiny, shadowy creatures crawled out. The minions snarled and giggled, their razor-sharp claws glinting in the dim light. At her command, they swarmed Mike, tearing into him like a pack of rabid hyenas. His screams echoed as they ripped him limb from limb, scattering chunks of him across the void. One particularly bold minion hopped up with Mike's severed arm and waved it around like a trophy. "Look, boss. A souvenir." "Jesus Christ," Iris muttered, but she couldn't help the twisted smirk tugging at her lips. "Good work, I guess." When the void began to dissolve, Iris found herself back in the changing room, drenched in sweat and gasping for air. Her reflection in the mirror bore no trace of the monster's form, but her eyes lingered on the faint flicker of crimson in her pupils. She stepped out to find Wizzy and Toxic waiting, their arms loaded with shopping bags. Toxic raised an eyebrow. "You good? You look like you just fought Satan himself." "Not Satan. Just some undead asshole," she replied, her tone sharp but steadied. "Let's get the fuck out of here." As they walked through the mall, Wizzy paused. Hey, why is there a severed arm sticking out of your pocket? Iris sighed, pulling out the grotesque souvenir one of her minions had snuck into her pocket. A reminder. Of what? Wizzy asked. To never trust creepy clerks. And that Mike was an even bigger idiot than me.